Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Trap Draw. And of course, shout out to Mr. Jeezy. It's Neil here. Do a little solo intro for today's episode. I'm up in the office, so I got the mic set up. That's progress. Don't have the camera set up. Sorry if you're watching this and getting blinded by the window behind me. We've got some home improvement work to do. If you listened to the booth last week, you know what I'm talking about. But the Vibrary is operational, which is good stuff. It's a busy week over here. The squad's coming off our club championship in Frisco, Texas. That video coming out in December. TC, Solly, DJ are filming some content down in Florida. Despite that, I believe we're doubling up on the Trap Draw this week. So we got a fun one today, which we'll get to, and a potential TC DJ in-person chop coming out later this week. Honestly, it could be early next week. We'll keep you posted. And we've got a certified big name VIP knower joining us next week for a Ball Knowers episode. This guest is a bit of a What a World episode for me. So anyway, as always, the Trap Draw is presented by ServPro, the #1 brand in cleanup and restoration, and is known for making any mess like it never even happened. With over 2,200 locations nationwide, they're faster to any size disaster. Visit servpro.com or call 1-800-ServPro today. They, of course, present our Mea Culpa segment. And I've got just a quick one here for you. I'd like to apologize on behalf of Cody for messing up the Lowe's company history last week. We learned from listener Brian that Lowe's officially started in 1921, but then became an official company in 1946. It was never part of Home Depot. Home Depot and Lowe's always been separate. Home Depot started in 1978 after Bernie and Arthur were fired from their jobs at another home improvement retailer. This, of course, from listener Brian. We appreciate him holding us accountable. Listen, we need to be better with this type of history. I should have caught that one. Cody did say that he didn't do his research before he said this, but Lowe's and Home Depot not together. I think we got a lot of feedback, though. People really riding for their home improvement brand and retailer of choice. A lot of people riding for Ace, Menards. God, I'm going to have to apologize for Menards. I don't know how to pronounce that. Home Depot, Lowe's, you name it. So, we'll probably have to update on the home improvement segment. And on that note, I one other mea culpa. I'm still waiting for some apologies from Bills fans for my AFC East and Patriots predictions. So hit the listener line when you can, 833-330-8725. Shout out to ServPro, as always, for helping us with this here podcast. All right. We've got a unique episode for you today. As part of our filming trip in upstate New York, we stopped in and saw Alex Holderness and John Bourne, of course, the founders of Holderness and Bourne, at their headquarters up in Armonk, New York, before TC and I ripped it up north to Albany and beyond for our upstate New York tour back in June. That video premieres on our YouTube channel Wednesday, October 28th. TC and I had a ton of fun exploring golf, kind of in my extended backyard up in the Hudson Valley, similar to what DJ and I did up in Connecticut. And I feel like we just scratched the surface on that region and what it has to offer from a golf standpoint. So we sat down for this interview with Alex and John, and we intended to cut up bits and pieces of it for the video. But it just turned into a really good discussion, and we decided to publish it in full here on the Trap Draw. So we covered the origin story of both Holderness and Bourne and NLU, kind of the ups and downs of starting a business, and the nitty-gritty of running an apparel company. I'm kind of a sucker for the business podcasts. I'm a big acquired listener, founder stories, big, just kind of business history. And I love learning how different businesses operate. So I really enjoyed listening back to this episode earlier this week. Alex and John, they started Holderness and Bourne around the same time we started No Laying Up in 2014. And we've pretty much been working with them since the beginning. So it was really fun to sit down and kind of discuss the parallel journey we've been on the last decade. Of course, H&B is also a sponsor of this here podcast. So if you enjoy this interview, consider using the code TRAP, TRAP10, TRAP10 at hbgolf.com. or 10% off your first order. And go check out the fall H&B line in our pro shop at store.nolayingup.com. I feel like autumn and H&B kind of go together. They've got some awesome fall colors, some Tanimal options, some greens, diamond knit, ward sweaters, cute quarter snaps. They've got the Wallace, the diamond knit hoodie. Anyway, let's get to it. Here's our interview with Alex Holderness and John Bourne.
All right, just quick background. Where both you guys, a little quick intro, where you're from, and then like kind of how'd you meet?
Yeah, sure.
Start with the Holderness.
Yeah, great. So I grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina. Wasn't born in North Carolina. My mother was from California, so I was actually born in Truckee, California.
Okay.
I'm a Tahoe kid.
Shout out to Tahoe.
But we moved back east when I was young, grew up in Greensboro, went to Chapel Hill for undergrad, came up to New York after that, and then bounced back and forth between New York and London, and then left London to come back to the States for business school, which is where I met JB.
Okay.
And I grew up in Oyster Bay, Long Island, town on the North Shore,
Shout out
commuter
to
town to the
Gatsby.
city. Yeah, Gatsby,
Gold
kinda,
Coast.
East Egg, West Egg,
Yeah.
that whole.
Would you say you're more East Egg or West Egg?
Sure, yes.
Yeah. I was going to say there is a right answer there.
Were you hanging out in
Let's
the
just say I'm
valley?
still chasing the green light.
the valley
Sure,
of
I'm
Okay,
still
fair enough.
chasing the
I
green
love
light.
that.
Aren't we all?
And a lot of great golf around there. Didn't grow up playing much golf. It was kind of once in a while he'd go out, but it was not a part of my upbringing, like out on the golf course with dad. That was not a thing. Went to college in Providence and met Alex at business school at Yale. Lived in New York City in between and after, so pretty much bounced around the East Coast my whole life. And it wasn't until business school that I started taking the game of golf seriously. And that's where Alex and I really formed our friendship, was on the golf course at Yale. And I was, probably the first time I had a handicap was right around the time we started the company. And I was like at 25. So,
Alex, what was
been
your
working on that.
background with golf?
I grew up playing some golf in Greensboro. It was sort of a big thing down there. I mean, they had the tour event that would come through every year. It used to be the Kmart GGO. Then it was the Chrysler Classic, and then now's the Wyndham. But my earliest memory of wanting to play golf was going to the GGO, and it was practice day. It must have been a Tuesday or Wednesday, and I was standing in the bunker practice area, and I saw Calcavecchia hole like 4 straight bunker shots, and I was just standing there, and I was thinking, that's freaking cool, man. I want to do that, So I was playing a little golf before then, but I think that was formative for me in some way, just seeing how good those guys were. And anyway, so I played on my high school team in Greensboro, was never even scratch, was sort of low single-digit guy, so.
Lefty, too.
Yeah, lefty, yeah. Always been doing it the other way around. Didn't have any chance of playing at Carolina, but, I wasn't there to work that hard anyway. It's more about having fun in college, so, yeah.
So Yale, business school, why did you guys just like more macro, why did you decide to go to business school?
For me, it was to just get off of Wall Street. I'd spent my entire career in my 20s working in banking and doing all that. Don't really want to go deep on that unless you really need to know.
No, sure, say no more.
Ironically, what did you do as soon as you graduated from business school?
I went straight back to Goldman Sachs for about 10 minutes.
That sounds like Randy.
Realized the error of my ways.
Randy he graduated from Indiana MBA and then went to McGladrey, and they literally they forgot about him. So
They didn't staff him on any
They
projects.
didn't put him on a
And
client
he didn't tell anybody.
for like 7 or 8 months.
Because
It was like Milton in like Office Space.
Yeah,
that's
just getting
amazing.
the checks.
So he just like stopped coming in, and then they were like, "Oh my gosh, like we totally forgot to put you on a client. We're so sorry." And they finally put him on a client, and he's like, "Actually, I'm good."
Well, but I'm curious though, did you guys go to Yale thinking I want to start a business, or?
No. I didn't
Not
really
necessarily.
have that concept.
I went with the notion that I would at least try to figure something like that out. Okay. Just something other than Wall Street.
Yeah.
What were you doing?
I was for me, business school was a pivot, and I knew going in that I was going to do something different on the other side. I was a graphic designer and video editor and production assistant for the first 7 years of my career in New York City. Worked at MTV and VH1. If you know the I Love the series, I Love the 90s, 80s, whatever. Interview celebrities about movies of a given year and other cultural phenomena of a given year. So I was like interviewing Hulk Hogan about Back to the Future, 1984 or whatever it was, pulling tapes, watching movies, pulling the best clips. Saw that the editors, I was making like $30,000 a year, staying until 9 p.m. to get a free dinner, and then saving half of it for lunch the next day, living in an apartment with 4 other dudes in 1 bathroom, and like grinding out a very humble but fun and creative kind of first chapter of my career. And then I saw the video editors made like $60 an hour. And so I started hanging around the video suite and got somebody to teach me how to load tape. At this time, we were still working off like big tapes and loading them into the machine to digitize them. And then eventually I learned how to put a straight cut together, which is just like very unpolished kind of chunks of video. The editor could come back, and that was overnight. So I was like getting off my job, working overnight, doing that. And then the editor would come in the morning and he'd have kind of like the canvas roughly set up for him to go and do the higher value editing work. And somehow from that, like, Big Bar stole my way into a full-time editing job, and had kind of ascended to this point where it was either I'm an editor for the rest of my life. Like this is, some of the people, my peers at that time were 50-year-old guys and gals who that's just what they did. And that wasn't like my vision for what I wanted to be doing. But I didn't really have a very clear vision other than that it was probably something a little more strategic, a little more in the business world. So applied to business school, was surprised to get into Yale, given my background. Got there having never used Excel, for example. I think I was the only person in the class who could claim to have downloaded Excel like the first day of business school, and then had to figure that out.
What was that like, not having used Excel? Meanwhile, you're
really like embarrassing in a way, but
still an insecurity of mine.
Yeah.
I run a lot of the business stuff, and I'm horrible with spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Like I'm just very slow.
I got really good at it because I was not okay being bad at it. Sure. And interestingly, video editing is all about keyboard, keeping your hands on the keyboard and not using the mouse so much. So I got really good with shortcuts and memorizing all that and knowing how to like affect what was happening on a screen with the keyboard. That translated because Excel's basically the same thing. You just have to memorize the new shortcuts.
The new shortcuts.
And they had a bunch of Training the Street and Excel classes on the weekends that I would take. So I dove in. And interestingly, as we divided and conquered within the business in the early years, Alex went toward the creative side and I took over more of the...
I was trying to forget all those shortcuts and figure out how to do something else. But John, thankfully, was pretty good at it from day one.
What's the key, not to digress, but in investment banking, isn't there like, is it F12 that the...
F1 you pop off.
F1 you pop off because you're so... What is F1? Is like the undo or something? That.
No, what is that?
I'm glad to tell you I can't remember.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's
very stupid investment banking humor or something.
It does something that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
I can't remember what. I don't know because I came using Macs.
Sure.
From video editing. I was using Final Cut and Avid, and so Macs don't have the function keys. That don't have the same functionality on those function keys. So I never knew. Something about that.
So we met. John was a year ahead of me at Yale. So there are only 2 years in business school, so you're either a senior or a freshman. John was part of this group that was, the big men on campus and the golf crew and whatever. So I showed up for orientation with my class and already kind of knew a few of those guys because we were talking about golf. And then we ran into his crew, and the common thread was that we were just always out on the golf course together. Because business school, one of the great things about it, you work hard, but it's spurts. It's kind of little sprints of doing a project or whatever, and then there's a lot of free time. So we played a lot of golf.
On the Yale golf course?
Yeah, up at the Yale course, which it was pre-renovation. It was sort of what people might remember as a good course, but scruffy, but the rain or bones were there, and it was a lot of fun. So it was
hell
easy
of a
to get
walk,
out.
incredible to go out and hoof a bag, and we were young and fitter than we are now, and it was a good way to spend an afternoon.
Yeah. All right, so where does golf apparel fit in? I mean, starting an apparel business is not for the faint of heart. Was it just golf that you knew you guys wanted to be in that sphere, or was it apparel specifically?
That's a good question. I mean, I think we each have a version of the answer, but we love golf. We understood golf. We'd go to these places to play golf and see what was in the shop. The other piece of it for us is that we had, I think, a hobby level appreciation for classic menswear and tailoring and all this sort of good brands that were out there. We both had learned a lot about that world just as customers growing up, and we both had experiences where our dads took us along with them for a shopping trip to Brooks Brothers or Paul Stewart or something. So we had that appreciation, and we kind of paid more attention, I think, than the average guy to style and fit and that sort of thing. And so we had it in our heads that when we walked into a golf shop, we just weren't seeing anything that was that interesting or fresh or good relative to what we were seeing outside of golf shops. And so that was one of the earliest versions of this conversation about doing something, was noticing that and just wondering why it was the case that at the time J. Crew was cool in menswear because Todd Snyder was working there and he was doing the liquor store and they were doing interesting stuff. And that was
Slim Fit was a big piece of that.
One of a dozen examples in our mind of like seeing things happening outside of golf and then walking into a golf shop and feeling like it was 1996 and the fit was baggy, the colors were dated, the whole thing was just kind of off. And so the original conversation was, why is that? And are we even capable of doing something about it as entrepreneurs who could maybe put a brand together that addressed what we saw as a trend happening in menswear that wasn't being picked up on in golf early on.
Did you almost like craft a case study
that was my
beforehand?
Well, it was not like a business school class project that became the business we started when we graduated. We graduated, I got a job in private equity. Alex went back to Goldman Sachs, and to make a longer story short, it wasn't until a couple years of that and living in the city and playing golf on the weekends and complaining about our jobs and what we were finding in the pro shops at the time that the business idea came to us.
It was truly a solution to
a personal need. Yeah, need may be strong to a problem.
I think it was a need though, because we were observing that the world was becoming more casual. Women were doing this athleisure thing where they were wearing more comfortable clothes and getting away with it, really, in more settings in their lives.
Sure.
And guys,
yoga
guys weren't being given the same variety. It's still very traditional in most companies, and but there was this push towards casual Friday and more relaxed fit, or fabrics that are more versatile and easy care. And so we kind of saw that was where the puck was going over time, and that it would happen in menswear. And for us, the notion of golf as sort of the ultimate athleisure sport where you can dress in a polished but very comfortable, casual way was a great entry point for a brand, because we understood golf, we knew the codes and how you're supposed to tuck your shirt in and all that, but we also thought that it would be great as a starting point for a business because golf apparel can just be apparel. It doesn't have to be costume, right? So we were big proponents of the idea that you could wear stuff to and from the course that was just as appropriate on the course. And these fabrics are getting, like I said, more versatile and not as sporty looking, even though they perform. And so that was kind of part of the original thesis was, hey, this would be a pretty cool pocket of retail to start a brand because of all the stuff that we think is going to happen.
Yeah. And
pretty well-heeled clientele too, right?
Great
Sure.
Customer base, demographic. And we naturally loved golf and loved its traditions and wanted to help bring some of those traditions into the modern world. We big fans of having your shirt tucked in and a proper collar and being able to wear that thing on the golf course and to work and yada yada was a big part of it. And what we saw in the golf shops at that time is just kind of slouchy. It wasn't rad. Like it's a weird way of putting it, but like we just wanted to feel like rad,
Smart,
wearing
switched on
golf clothes that weren't a big box brand that has major tour presence or whatever. Like just a cool kind of niche brand we'd be proud to wear in all aspects of our life that was really kind of built for the modern golfer, not to sound like a marketing tagline.
But so from that, a great idea, right? I feel like a lot of people have good ideas. What's the next step? Like, did you guys on the weekend put a business plan together?
There was no business plan, I think, at the very start. This was not like, hey.
Because this is the question we get a lot.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
I feel like we are on a similar
I bet
track
it's similar.
with different types of businesses.
We weren't like, hey, let's start a golf apparel brand. We're going to have a wholesale and direct-to-consumer online distribution strategy, and the first product we're going to make is the polo shirt, and then we're going to make a quarter.
Yeah.
It was like we wanted this polo shirt to exist, and it didn't, so we decided to meet in the garment district one morning and see if we could make a shirt.
Yeah.
That was all. There was no even notion in a specific way, maybe in some general way that like, yeah, this could be a brand, this could be a bit, but there was no brand name, it was just, let's meet up in the garment district and start poking around and seeing if we can figure it out.
Who do you poke around with? Like, how does that even work? What do you?
So somebody told me that this is like now a documented thing in one of these Project Runway. But we were very lucky in a number of ways. One of them is that we were in New York City, where there is still a pretty active garment scene. Yeah. So there are what are called jobbers who sell remnant fabric from brands that no longer need the last 15 yards of a bolt or whatever. So you go to these shops. This one was called Mood. There's a bunch of them, but we first bounced around these fabric shops, these odd lot kind of remnant fabric shops, just touching and feeling things, thinking to ourselves, what would we want the perfect kind of platonic ideal in our own mind's eye of a golf shirt? What would we want it to be made from? Okay, so now you have some fabric, and we've got a couple yards of a couple things. And maybe at one of the cashiers at Mood, we just said, like, how do we make a shirt? Like, who could sew this into a shirt? They're like, oh, there's plenty of sample makers around here. So we didn't really know what a sample maker was, but a sample maker, a lot of the fashion houses will do some of their kind of R&D prototyping with a sample house near their corporate office in the garment district in Manhattan. Once they have something kind of good, they'll send it off to an overseas factory to make in bulk. So we started Googling sample maker, garment district, New York City. Found some guy who could do it. Went to him. He's like, oh, I need buttons. I'm like, oh, right, buttons, of course. So we go to this place, Botani Trimmings. They sell all the zipper pullers, buttons, everything you could need that isn't the fabric to make anything, zippers, etc. So we started looking at all the different button shapes, size, shape, material, all that stuff, and bought you had to buy them by the gross, about 144 mother of pearl buttons that we thought were cool. Brought them up back to the sample maker, said, here you go. He's like, well, how do you want it to be cut? Like, so pulled kind of 10 different things from our closet and said, well, we want, and it was a hill ditch and key, like proper.
You basically figured out what you didn't like about
or it was more taking the best from a bunch of different things. Okay. So we said like the fit of this shirt, but the sleeve of this shirt and the collar of this woven shirt, like one of Alex's dress shirts from a German street maker that he had. And that collar proved to be the most difficult part, because the woven shirt collars have this interfacing, which is the material under the fabric that gives it structure. And so figuring out an interfacing that worked with a knit fabric was really difficult. But that's how it started. It was just, we did not know anything.
And that guy
just started asking questions and Googling.
Was it just one prototype?
Started one at a time.
Yeah.
Started with prototypes, iterate on a prototype, and then, it took us a year of that before we had anything that we thought was good enough to go and actually make a production run of shirts.
And that was all nights and weekends. I think we're past the, I don't think my former employer can come after.
Yeah.
But that was all nights and weekends.
And what year is this?
2012, 13.
2012, 13. So about 14, a year of that.
Yeah, 14 we incorporate, February 14. Mm-hmm. And
well, so where the paths a little bit diverges, like, NLU was a hobby for us for 3, 4, 5 years, for 4 of us founders, and then DJ came on board.
But same exact thing of like, hey, why are we so, like, why is there nothing interesting going on in golf media? Or like, why are, like for us, it was Spencer Hall with like, every day should be Saturday of like college football, or like, hey, why is there nobody talking about golf the way that like my friends and I talk about golf? And then golf tends to be 3, 4, 5 years behind. And so it was just this kind of thing that like we never really even set out to do it, but it was like, oh, it's just like satisfying what we felt like was a void.
What was the first thing that you sat down, recorded, audio, whatever?
Yeah, so we did the Twitter account first, and then we did the website. We called up Neil, and we were like, oh, Neil works in San Francisco. Like, he knows how to build a website.
So the Twitter account was first, right?
Yeah, text thread, a Twitter account, and then January 1st, 2014, we launched the website. And for that first year, it was a lot of blogging, blog posts, writing tournament previews.
With video in it, or no?
No, oh no, just words.
Taking turns, who was going to write what?
Yeah, basically someone would take the lead on the preview, and then we did the podcast for the first time in April.
How many Twitter followers did you have in
at that point? It was about
2014.
Probably I want to say 500 to 800.
So it's still micro.
Yeah, but a few, like Billy Horschel, I think, was following.
Okay.
A couple of names in there where you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. everything was just a thrill.
Right, everything's a
The
thrill.
difference, what I was going to say though, is the difference is you guys, I believe, raised this like a friends and family thing.
That wasn't until a couple years later.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so when did you make the transition though to you're leaving Goldman Sachs, you're leaving the private equity world?
2014, basically right around the time we incorporated, quit our jobs. We had spent some money on that prototyping, just kind of out of our pockets to that point, and then some of the investments when you're making a bulk production run and
Yeah.
so on and so forth get a little bigger. So we just put every dollar that we had, and that got us about 2 years of runway, not paying ourselves.
Okay.
And after those 2 years, we had maybe 30 golf shop accounts, wholesale accounts, and a tiny little website business, but we were fulfilling orders. We were answering customer service issues. It was just the two of us. Maybe we had hired our first employee at that point.
I think so. Just before the round.
And then,
Yeah.
and like setting out, what, like, is that what success looked like? Like, is that what you thought success would look like? Did it go kind of according to plan? the
We
most
did
part?
at that point. That was the first time we put like a deck together, a business plan. We couldn't have done it any earlier. It was almost like a
Experiment.
yeah, it was an experiment that we were willing to devote our full time and efforts to for a couple of years and see if we could get to a place where it was worthy of like even thinking about being a business. It was incorporated, it had a name, all those things, but like it was
Yeah.
still an
Well, it's
experiment
interesting to
is a
me
great
that you
word.
guys went the wholesale route because at that time, I'm in San Francisco at that time, and
Yeah.
Shopify's taking off.
Bonobos was a big
E-commerce
one.
is like everybody's trying to start a drop ship or basically an online storefront.
Yeah.
Was that conscious, or was the wholesale
so
just
that
more
would be the
efficient?
one area where our business plan is probably most divergent from reality, is that we thought we would much more quickly get to kind of a 50-50 business.
Okay.
But wholesale was always going to be a part of it, because where do guys buy most of their polo shirts? And that's the only thing we made at the time.
Yeah.
Our customer in golf shops.
Okay.
So it wasn't even an option to not have the logo on it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we wanted to, I mean, from the earliest days, we wanted to be a golf brand. We weren't trying to build a mainstream retail brand with shops in various cities and an e-com site. That was
Yeah.
not the vision.
So you almost
It
had to
was-
gain the respect of like, you know, you want to be a
Yeah.
golf brand, you better go to the
Exactly.
golf shop.
Like
sure.
the
Yeah.
idea that our customer would discover the brand for the first time at Pinehurst or Wingfoot or something like that was always something that we strove for. Yeah.
And I mean, in hindsight, it was a stroke of like brilliance to have that brand association, where the moment you put this established, iconic logo that brings somebody back to a place, a time around with their dad or their best friend or the day before their wedding or whatever, onto your thing, you're elevating your brand by that association. I don't know that we knew that super consciously
That kind of
at
hit
the
me
time.
in the back here, seeing, you know, some of the shirts you're embroidering. It's like you are now, you're deeply ingrained with a positive memory.
It's
like,
bound.
It's positive association, which I've never really considered as a, I don't know, and then it's like, oh yeah, this shirt's held up for 4 years.
Right.
You know, because I bought it because of the logo, but
Right.
actually, what is this company?
And that was always the notion, is that there would be this virtuous feedback mechanism where somebody might buy something in a pro shop because of the logo, but then come to love the thing, and then go to the website and buy the thing without the logo because it wasn't available in that shop, or they can't get back to that shop, or they don't want the logo on that thing because they're wearing it to work or whatever it is. And vice versa, if we could find customers online following some of the performance marketing tactics of that day, then we could get a customer base that was going to their golf professional and saying, hey pro, why don't you buy this? And now we're in more golf shops, and hopefully the cycle continues. What I think we underestimated was how quickly the wholesale part of our business would take over, and what that meant in terms of putting the direct business on the back burner for a while. So we realized pretty quickly that like this thing will work as long as we can become a leading golf brand in the best shops in the country, and
Because
eventually
you can
world.
get more scale and volume more quickly.
And the other benefit of building a wholesale business in our pocket of the industry is you get to see where the demand is earlier, because the pre-booking cycle. So speaking of things we didn't know,
There's just
when
less
we launched the
risk
brand.
inherent.
Yeah,
with your
so when
order.
we first went around the New York area to sell the brand, we didn't have any idea that most of the buying that these shops do is for next year. You know, they're looking ahead. We were trying to sell them the stuff we'd already made that was already here, and we just needed to, you know, make sure we got through it.
You truly don't know what you don't know.
Right. So, but as soon as we picked up on the notion that, oh, they want to see next year's collections this year so they can book that business and plan their side of things, that actually helps us quite a bit, because then we can buy inventory in a smart way. We know how much to buy, or at least we have a good idea, because you're taking the orders so far in advance, and that's a much easier business to build because you can visualize your inventory needs and plan for that.
And it's sold. You know, you're placing a PO with your factory based on sales that you already have in your hand. You haven't collected any money for it, but you know it's already sold. So the working capital cycles are friendly, whereas, you know, in a direct business, you're making blind buys. You don't know what the end consumer is necessarily going to want, so you're buying what you think they'll want and then putting it on a site and hoping their desires match up with your instincts, which isn't always the case. And you know, the most problematic thing in retail is when you have things that you've made and paid for that you don't sell. Both because, you know, you're not getting the money back, that's the obvious one, but you're going to have to sell them in some channel. Often you're going to liquidate them, and by liquidating them or putting them on sale, you're denigrating the brand because you're putting it in the customer's mind that I should never pay full price for this thing.
Creating a bad habit.
Which is, I think, where I do think there were some cautionary tales around that time of VC-backed apparel startups that went very heavy DTC, which is a super expensive. I mean, customer acquisition and the notion that you're gonna, you know, make money in a year. I feel like that's a treadmill that some of those brands kept running on, to Google and others' benefit. But the desire to discount, or the instinct to discount because you get this little hit of sales and it's like heroin, led a lot of them to also go down a discounting path. It's from which it is impossible to recover. People, they base their notion of what something is worth on the lowest price they've ever paid for that thing. So being a discount brand is just a pathway to hell, from a just modeling economics perspective.
What was the next thing you did after a polo?
The Robbins
Quarter zip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a nice performance blend quarter zip that did well.
But then that's a whole nother can of worms because you're adding a zipper.
Got a zipper. Yeah, where do we
Back
get
to
zippers?
drawing board, yeah.
What year was that?
2016.
Okay. Because I remember I was living in Boston, and it was during the Ryder Cup. I think this was 2015. And I put out like a poll on Twitter. And I said, you know, like 4 options. I was like, hey, if you could, you know, I think we're going to do a run of merchandise between these 4 brands and Holderness. I can't remember how you got on the radar screen initially, of like, it was just, you know, it was actually, no, it was guy from North Carolina that did Lynx magazine.
Graylin Loomis.
Graylin Loomis did
there you go.
Yeah, Graylin.
a
He's good
review.
friend.
And I remember just thinking that, and the collar looked really good. And that was like, and that's still like, you guys worked hard on the collar, and that's probably your biggest moat now, right? Of like,
Well,
the collar is just dialed. And I remember seeing that, and so many people were like, what the hell is Holderness for?
Is that a
And
law
then we
firm?
ended up
What is that?
doing
Yeah.
our first
Was
order
that
of polo shirts with
dentist's
it.
office?
And,
Yeah.
and it was probably like, you know,
Well, the biggest thing that I told Alex recently was you were probably the only one of those 4 options that, you know, gave us the time of day. Of like, hey, we're got this golf content thing going, and you guys were very like, yeah, we'd love to, let's talk about it. Let's, you know, I don't know, accessible maybe is the word. A couple others. It wasn't that anybody was like, F you. It was more like, we don't have time. It just didn't feel like there was any time, or and it's,
Yeah, I mean, we
the
wouldn't
guys
give
with
you
the
time
name
of
on the
day
door.
Now we'd be big
No,
time.
but you guys' name is on the business, and we're talking to the 2 of you.
Right.
You know, especially for those first like 2 or 3 years. And so that
I think
that's a
that's
big
what's very
difference.
cool about. I mean, I'm sure you have your versions of like some of those things, those that happened, that whether it's Billy Horschel following you or that gave you that
I was going to be
fuel,
my
that,
next
like,
question. Oh man, we might have we made it
like a pro or a club that supported you when they didn't have to, or when it was like, hey, man,
well, we
they
got
took
a
chance
million.
on us. Yeah.
We have a million of those. Just to finish the thought I was having is like, there's some of this that's so old school. Like Graylin Loomis is a person who we got to know through happenstance, and he did so. And we met you, and we were kind of, there's a timing element there. We were both kind of at the same place, right time to just vibe on that. But then there's also all of this stuff that was happening with new technology that feathered on top of it. Like, we couldn't have found our first bulk manufacturer in Brooklyn without this thing called Maker's Row. That it was a website. It said, enter what you want to make, polo shirt, and where 50 miles, within a 50-mile radius of New York City, and they'll return 5 factories that make it. Sourcing used to be this like black box. If you had a Rolodex of factories that could make things, that was essentially IP. You know, that was, and the internet blew that up. Obvious point for you guys, but like Twitter and Instagram and YouTube, like your thing doesn't, you know, 4 jabronis from Atlanta or whatever
No,
can't
100%.
start a podcast in 2005, but in 2014 they can. And same thing for us. Like Instagram gives you a marketing channel to the world without having to kiss the ring at one of the major fashion magazines of the time. So all of these things kind of, I just give a lot of credit to timing, but you have to layer on top of that some of the old school, just person to person, you know, ways that business and life still does happen.
So you were making the early bulk, when you said bulk runs, you were doing those in Brooklyn.
Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
Oh, God, I love that.
Yeah, we tried for a while. We had fabric from North Carolina, and
Which I remember
cut
the
and
first
sew in
shirts
Brooklyn.
that we did were made in the U.S.
Mhm.
And then you guys, then it was Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, and we went to Korea because the fabrics we wanted to make here couldn't be made here. The machines that the mill in North Carolina used couldn't incorporate elastane into a performance yarn blend. That's how out of date they were, and they ended up going out of business because the world had moved on. So
And
just
that
a
was like
lack
the
of
original
investment.
like Sutton
yeah,
shirt.
yeah,
would
the
have been
Sutton, the
that kind of-
Maxwell.
Okay.
They were 100% polyester
Okay.
with fabric knit in Lumberton, North Carolina, cut and sewn in Greenpoint. And it was incredibly valuable to be in the factory all the time, and that was our education, and we paid for it. But at a certain point, the lack of investment in the domestic manufacturing base and apparel put us down a dead end to where we couldn't make what we wanted to make in that way.
And so then is that, like, how many trips did you take overseas to figure out Korea was the right spot?
A few, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, got to know them. They, just like you were saying about, you know, when we said, hey, happy to talk to you guys, they were thankfully of a similar mindset. We were nowhere. We didn't have much of a business or a brand at that point, but they were very welcoming and said, hey, you know, tell us about the idea and we'll see if we can help.
At what point did you quit your jobs?
We had quit by then. We quit in 2014 when we were, like John said, we had incorporated, and we didn't have a great shirt. That year was our first generation shirt, which mostly got donated to Goodwill with the labels cut out. But we had learned a lot, and we knew we were heading on a good path because we had our 2015 collection ready to go sell, and it was pretty good. And it was made in America, but it was a broader assortment. It was some stripes and a few options for a club to take a bite and try it. And that's when we decided, I mean, I think we sold 4 clubs, the line. And
Do you remember the 4 clubs?
Mm-hmm.
The founding 4?
Founding
Four,
four.
we
And
do.
to your point about like people and
Yeah.
moments, there was, I think, it may be apocryphal, but I think it's accurate that the first meeting we had was friend of a friend had a uncle who was a member at Wingfoot and got us an email introduction to the head or the first assistant who was in charge of the retail buying, a guy named Grant Sturgeon, who's still a pro. He's at Arcola now. And he, for whatever reason, replied to our email and said, yeah, sure. And you know, the email you write is always, I'm going to be in your area on this specific day at this specific window of time. Do you have 15 minutes for me? And so just like, you know, PSA to anybody trying to do anything, be specific in your ask and make it seem like you're already there. It's not you're not going out of your way. Just makes it easier for them to say yes.
And you're not putting pressure on them.
Right.
So, yeah.
No big deal. I'm going to be in your area. Would love to stop by. So we get this 15-minute little thing. And adorable in hindsight. We put on our, woven shirts and our sport coat and we, our leather shoes, and we walk in there with, no joke, 3 shirts, 3 colors each, 9 things on 9 hangers. But it felt like we were like Patrick Mahomes going through the tunnel for the Super Bowl. It was like little nerves, you're going in, and we go in and go into the shop. We're looking around like, we're here for an appointment with Mr. Sturgeon. And he's like, he's on the lesson to you. Why don't you go back to his office and wait? We go in this cramped little, office behind the pro shop and sit there. Grant comes in, he's sweating, throws a lip in and sits down and has an appointment with us.
What's up, fellas?
Yeah, exactly.
What's this all about?
Yeah. So what do you got here? You got some shirts or something? Stoddy told me you were stopping by. Like, what's the deal? And we did our best pitch. Just told them, what we were trying to do and why. Better fit, classic style, structured collar. Your guy's gonna love it. You should give us a shot. We're local and we'll stand behind it if anything goes wrong. And he was like, all right, well, I'm probably crazy, but go ahead, put it together. There's not much here, so let's see, 48 pieces, size run, whatever you want. I'll send you the DST file. You send me an order confirmation. So we say, thank you very much. One thing, I learned this from my aunt who was on Wall Street for a long time. She said, if you're going to start something and you're going to go out and try to sell, as soon as you get the order, get the fuck out of the room.
Yeah.
That was her advice. And so we got out of the room.
You can follow up for questions later.
Yeah. Don't let them back their way out of the yes. So we say thank you very much and leave and get in my car in the parking lot because we didn't want to valet the car. Walk through this path to get back to the car, close the door. I look at Alex. I'm like, what the hell's a DST file?
Yeah.
He's like, what's an order confirmation?
How do we make one of those?
Can you guys send the DST over? What is a
DST file?
Is it not an AI file or a PNG?
So we, what is it? The elusive DST. So we got on Excel and created an order confirmation. Like Alex said, we were selling things we had already made, which we didn't realize was not the way you normally do it. And we put it together, got it embroidered. There's a whole long story about figuring that part out. And he called back 2 weeks after the delivery and said, it's going pretty well. I sold everything except one of the XLs. Can you fill me in another 24 pieces or something? And I said, I think so. And I think we had to actually have our factory make more so that we could meet that order. But so Wingfoot's one, and Grant Sturgeon is, in the Mount Rushmore of people who, without that moment in that little cramped kind of stockroom office, I don't know if we probably would have had the will to keep going, but you need some of those breadcrumbs along the way.
All right, so you got Wingfoot. What are the other 4 clubs?
Somerset Hills.
Okay.
Shout out Bernardsville.
Yeah.
Then Greenwich Country Club and Waikagill. And probably the 5th was the course at Yale. Had to go back.
What do you think with that Wingfoot order, though? Why do you think you sold through that inventory? Do you think that Grant was promoting it? Was it good placement in the shop? Was it the collar? Because you're still a no-name, just because the pro said yes.
Fit and collar.
Okay, so you think enough people just walked in and said they saw...
I think at that time, the classic brands were very boxy.
Okay.
The better fitting brands were very loud. And whether it's big logos, bright colors, more of that Tour de France jersey than a classic, men's polo shirt look, that just, what we were doing was actually, there was, even if, everyone, or especially our families, thought we were crazy to try to occupy it, there was a void for, us and I guess more people for a better fitting, classically styled polo shirt with a structured collar. Yeah. And the collar was a big deal too.
Those shirts I still have
they're bulletproof.
The original one, I think from 2015.
Well,
it's like a psychology experiment.
You guys, and that DNA is still in all of your shirts today. Like the collar, the fit, it's like you did a really good job on the first run of shirts or the second run of shirts, getting right what was going to define your success.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't 48 different guys that bought those shirts. It was probably 12 guys that bought them and liked them a lot and came back and bought the other 3 colors because they found the shirt that they liked, you know.
Yeah.
So
But we love lifetime value.
that's right.
Repeat. Oof, do we love that? All right, so in the early, let's say, so 2014 is kind of when things are incorporated, you're taking off. 2016, let's say from 2014 to 2018, 4-year period. Both you one moment of like, man, we might be onto something, like a little bit of a pinch me moment if you have one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always say, we got one. To give you an example, we got a cease and desist from Nike for using Rory's face. Rory gave us the green light to use his face after the Ryder Cup in, I believe, 2016, and that was like, that just made me, that just thrilled and delighted me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Nike's paying attention.
I've got one. I think 2016 we had an agent for a PGA Tour player, Roberto Castro, reached out to us and he said, you know, Roberto has heard about your brand. Maybe he bought a couple shirts somewhere and he likes the brand. You guys want to have a chat about a sponsorship deal? And we thought we were years away from anything like that happening. So it was flattering to even just get that outreach, and ended up doing a deal with Roberto to put him into the brand. So he was our first tour ambassador. And then he made it all the way through the Tour Championship in 2016 and qualified for the Masters in 2017. So going down to Augusta and seeing a guy wear our stuff inside the ropes there was surreal. I mean, it was just like almost too soon. We were very self-conscious. Like, I hope the seam doesn't rip on the shirt when he's on the tee, you know. But
he played in the U.S. Open at Shinnecock, and we didn't have any like rain gear. We had this one quarter zip, and this monsoon comes in, and he puts on the quarter zip, and he's just soaked through, and we're following, watching him. And he ends up missing the cut by 1, and we're both just like, oh my God, if we made a rain jacket for this poor guy, maybe he's making it to the weekend. And I go to him, we talk to him after, and he's like, dude, there wasn't a chance of rain in the forecast. I told Rusty to I have rain gear. I have an umbrella. I just told Rusty to leave that shit in the locker room because there was so he was like, it wasn't your fault. But there, to Alex's point, there was a lot of still insecurity about like all the things we didn't do, and you know.
Who knows? Maybe that rain gear would have been like a Corey Pavin
style. Yeah.
Yeah.
we still don't make rain gear.
Yeah. By the way, still don't make rain gear.
It's tricky, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure it's the
John,
category
what about
we
you?
started.
Anything, any moment like that in the first 4 years?
It's so funny. I don't have that, and I don't even. I mean, there's a lot of those types of things. A lot of them are tiny, like just seeing a guy wearing the product out in the wild, like at some private club, somebody who I don't know, you know, it used to be like all of our friends would buy the stuff and tell us it was great, but that felt a little like fluff. But, you know, a lot of those first, like, oh my God, like people are parting ways with their hard-earned paycheck in exchange for the things that we make, and then wearing them to the member guest, which is like your go-to shirt for that's the one you wear when you
Golf
get the invite.
prom.
Yeah, your golf prom uniform. And like, so a lot of those moments were very, that was like gasoline in the tank, was just like, wow, okay, real people are making that trade and getting genuine enjoyment out of it and feeling good in the stuff we make. That's awesome. I want to keep doing that.
For me, it's when I see someone walking down the aisle of an airplane wearing an NLU hat, it just is like, oh man. Because it's not around the golf course. You know, it's great to see like at tournaments and stuff, but when I see it like people wearing it when they're traveling, I'm like,
somebody intentionally.
That means they're
website.
comfortable and they're leaving home with it. Like that's
and it's how he wants to identify.
Yeah, a little
right?
bit.
Like,
Yeah,
let's
it's
try
just
like, come start a conversation.
Yeah,
Let's
100%.
talk.
I love
What's
that.
on the flip side, like those first few years, like what was the biggest low point you had?
I mean, the first lot of 1,000 shirts we made, we did not know what a pilling test was. Pilling is the little balls. Crocking, that's whether the color stays in the material or transfers to the white sofa you're sitting on. Shrinkage, there are tests, and you're supposed to get these test reports, and they're supposed to have a 3.5 or better. Otherwise, you probably shouldn't make that. And I think that first fabric we sourced failed all 3. and we didn't really know what we were looking for, and we ended up realizing after we had made the bulk production that we had to throw the shirts away, and that was a big chunk of change and a big like, are we going to keep doing this? But I think to Alex's point, we had already kind of moved on to what was next and knew that what was coming was better, and so we did keep going. But like, the way my mind works is I just don't see, maybe it's, I don't remember the great highs or the great low. I just think of our success to date being the residue of a continual heads down, one foot in front of the other. Like, it might be raining, it might be sun might be shining and beautiful, wind might be blowing 40. Like, we're just
There's just one.
moving.
Yeah, there's one way out of the tunnel. We're
Yeah.
just going to keep going.
As a consumer of your
Yeah.
stuff on both a personal level and a company level, like, I mean, you guys have been the biggest supplier in our shop literally since the day we started selling stuff or selling polo shirts, and only increase. And I feel like it's just the result of, it gets like 4 to 6% better every single season after season. We've been working with you for 10 years now.
But I will say, there was, I remember this vividly because I was fixing up the birdhouse, our house at Sweetens Cove, and the four of us hopped on a call, and I was in the Waffle House parking lot in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, and you guys had, it was, I think, the second year you were doing the Ward sweater, so this was probably 2019, and you guys had a size issue,
And we
like a
sold
shrinkage
through-
issue,
we
or
sold
and
through
you
the
guys,
first year.
you did the right thing. You like got it. You're like, all right, listen, we messed up, and so if you get anybody that wants to return this from size, like, connect them with us, and then we'll switch it out. And it was a headache for everybody, you know, but like, you guys were like, we don't want it to be your headache, so you kind of took on the headache of like the customer exchange stuff, and that alone spoke volumes to me. And
it was the result of actually improving your product. Like, you had moved from one kind of cotton, an Egyptian cotton, to something in Italy or something.
was it too baggy? Was that the, like,
Just shrink this
Yeah,
way.
we had a
shrink
vertical
up.
shrinkage issue.
Yeah.
And it was to do with the cotton and how it gets treated before it gets knit.
But like,
Yeah.
I've had more people come up to me who bought those, and then you proactively reached out and sent them stuff, and like, you turned that from being, hey, I'm like, oh, these guys messed this up, to I'm going to buy their stuff for the rest of my life. Like, you created customers.
Well, that's
for
the
life.
only attitude, is that a negative, it's kind of like, there's a saying, I think somebody said they have this saying in Chicago, there's no bad weather, just bad clothing. Like, it's just, are you prepared? That's the only thing that matters. And it's kind of like, there's no bad customer experience unless you make it bad. And some of a bad customer experience is an opportunity to make a lifetime customer, because for better or for worse, people are not conditioned to being treated well in the retail world. And we have our names on this. We take it incredibly seriously. I think it'll be, a great test for us as we grow. If we maintain that level of customer service and care, I think we're in a very good position to do that, because we retain the control of the business and what the business stands for. But yeah, there's another way of, like, I love a challenge. I love a bad time, because the grittiest kind of people get through the bad time better than, it's like, I don't know, doesn't Scotty Scheffler like it when it rains because, half the field's gone or whatever? It's like, that's the mentality. It's the only mentality, no matter what you're doing in life, to have is, yeah, sure, bring it on. It's fine.
It's interesting too. Like, I think there's so much of our listenership has bought stuff from you or from us that's got your name on it. And so I think for people to hear, like, I feel like people feel like they have a connection.
Well, we
Mhm.
skipped over that. I do have to ask, what the Holderness Bourne? Why'd you name it after yourself?
We tried not to for a little while. We were trying
were
to
you
come
gonna
up
call
with
it?
something more clever than that, and everything we looked at doing was trademarked already, or fraught with
In the
potential
end,
issues.
it was Alex's wife, Kate, who was like, you guys have great names, and all of your favorite brands are just the names of the people. So why don't you just do that? And it's not, we, especially early on, took pains to say this is not like a vanity thing. It's, in fact, in a lot of ways, as the brand grows in prominence and recognition, it's like, I wish my name weren't on it just for my kids and, stuff where you're like, I don't need this to be a thing. But that is what all of the great heritage brands did. It was just, a proprietor or two or three, and they hung a shingle and put their names on it. And there was not some need to marketing manufacture some little name that works in a jingle. Holderness Bourne is not the easiest URL to type in, right?
Not.
It's like
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, it's not the easiest thing to logo.
There's a headache to it.
We have to stack it to put it on a tour player's back yoke, and so it's not in some ways the smartest thing to do. But for us, once that kind of light bulb went off, that is the authentic, correct thing.
You were fighting the right decision. It was like, that's
in a way.
we were trying.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, we were trying. I think anytime you're trying too hard to convince yourself of something, it's probably not the right answer. Yeah. And we were trying pretty hard to call it something else.
Yeah. I think there's something in y'all's DNA that's similar to ours too, of like, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're doing something that's inherently simple and like grounded in like deep tradition and almost simplicity of like, hey, we're gonna put our names on the door, we're gonna make quality shit, and we're gonna treat people right. And like, I think for us, it's like everybody ascribed us at first of like, oh, these are like the brash new guys on the block. And it's like, yeah, we may like talk more like you would just with your buddies, but and use YouTube or podcasts or social media, but at the end of the day, like, we're like old school golf guys. Yeah. And like, it's not that different from other stuff. We just use different mediums to get
more of a commentary on where golf was at the time. It's like, we're just being honest. Like, everyone's thinking this, nobody's saying it out loud. All right, so product wise, I associate, for me, the Ward sweater, the diamond quilted sweater is kind of, when I think H&B, if someone asks me like, well, what product do they make? That's what I would say, and that's personal. What do you guys think? Both, what's your favorite product and what's your best selling product? Or
the product I wear the most, I'm wearing right now, which is our white McDonald. Okay. There's like a 25% of my wardrobe is just white shirts.
I've probably, between the white Anderson, the white McDonald, and the white Abbott, and whatever,
Strickland, the pocket,
I probably have 40 of them.
Yeah.
In my closet, because I live in Florida. I like the white shirts, and I have different logos on all of them.
Yeah. It's killer. So that, and the McDonald was, so there's a funny parallel to golf history here, which is our first shirt was called the leg shirt. It's the one we had to throw away. And then our second attempt at
our second
attempt at a first shirt was called the McDonald. Do you know the history of the first U.S. Amateur? So CB McDonald was like organizing the tournament.
He threw the results out.
He threw of the first playing. He came in second or something, or maybe he lost.
And this one doesn't count.
This one isn't the first one. The next year they had another one. He won it. He said, "This is the first one."
So that's a conscious.
I don't know that we knew that story. When
maybe serendipitous. Yeah.
It was that was serendipity, but we did start out naming all the products after great U.S. Amateur winners. And McDonald, to our reading, was the first U.S. Amateur winner. But we didn't have that idea to name all the products after U.S. Amateur winners until after the leg shirt was gone. So it happened to parallel perfectly the origins of the U.S. Amateur.
And are these white McDonald's, are these logoed? Or do you?
No, mostly blank.
Mostly blank.
Because here's the other annoying part is golf shops don't stock enough white shirts. So many times you go in, there's no mediums. No larges. They're just not stocking it.
Yeah, we have to catch ourselves with this, like, because we do the embroidery every year, like with your stuff, you almost get tired of like, oh, we're gonna make another white shirt with a blue logo. No one's gonna buy this, but it's like, no, you don't understand. Like, you gotta have just the simple stuff. That's what people really like. You gotta play the hits.
Do you buy? Do you go, like, when you're out at a club? Yeah. Do you go buy that stuff?
Well, pro move whenever we play a match, which often when we're getting invited, it's to play a match. We'll play a match with whoever our host and whoever they bring along, or maybe it's the pro. And stakes are always a polo in the shop. So we've won on the first tee because either we're buying a polo for the people who have just beaten us, or we're getting a free polo out of the deal.
Getting paid either way. Yeah.
But we're still, pro shop gear hogs, like we're still, you look around this office, there are all the little tchotchkes and different things, and a lot of the product development ideas we have are just things that we don't want to buy from another brand anymore and have an idea for how we could maybe improve upon it.
It seemed like it was pretty steady progress of like focusing on top 100 clubs and then building out the depth from there in each region and all of that. And it seems like what was like, when did you finally get to a point where you're like, all right, holy shit, we got a majority of the top 100.
Well, it was never, it was never, there was never a desire to just be in the best top 100, whatever clubs.
Just
it was
good pro shops.
Just be where you have a membership and guest coming through your doors that is willing to pay a premium price for a great product. That's all. So the logo bingo thing was, while we love the logos and that's a really cool, fun kind of part of the tribalism of golf, like that was not the driving force.
You didn't turn anybody off that way by saying like, we only want to work with
No, but those great shops are where you drive a lot of business and where, like we said earlier, you can really get that strong brand association. If they find it there for the first time, it's good for how they perceive you. So the answer to your question, though, Tron, is really that it was a matter of us getting territory reps in the right territories around the country, which we've just now finally feel like we've got pretty good saturation across the country and then up in Canada and over in the UK with great people who can go and do the work on the grounds.
And it started with, we would have a buddy in a town and they'd say, I could introduce you to some people, and we divvied up like the key markets. Weren't even thinking, honestly, like I think it's there's a hazard to putting what you know now and turning it into strategy then. It wasn't as strategic all the time. Often it was pretty like just following our noses type stuff. And so somebody in Atlanta, Roberto Castro, was like, I could get you some intros around town here. So for whatever reason, I took Atlanta. Alex had a buddy in Chicago, member at a club there, and said, I can make some intros. So Alex took Chicago. Alex had previously lived in San Francisco. Alex took SF. We had met a guy in Dallas. I took Dallas. So we would have these kind of key markets, and we'd fly out 2 or 3 times a year with a suitcase full of stuff, drive to a Walmart or Target, buy one of these collapsible rolling racks, a steamer, and some hangers, get the stuff out of the bag, put it on the hangers, on the rolling racks in the parking lot of the, Target.
Often at 10 p.m. because
Right.
your first meeting the next morning's at 8 and you just
You feel like a
landed.
drug dealer.
Imagine and going to the club and it's like somebody you used to work on Wall Street with is like, Alex, what are you doing here? It's like, shut up, I'm here to sell some shirts, just leave me alone.
But
But
time you playing, I'm not.
Yeah. When's your tea time? I don't know.
Yeah.
No. But you just do that, and then you go have 5-6 meetings a day for a couple of days, and then pack the stuff back up. Ask the guy at the rental car check-in if he wants a rolling rack, and go back up in a steamer and fly home.
When did you bring embroidery in house?
That was so even that was like pretty scrappy in the way we did it, in that we had found this embroiderer who was really good, and we were kind of living there, and said to them, we're sick of harassing you to get our orders done on time when they're behind all of these, to us, inconsequential other orders that you have. Could we just take over a little corner, probably the size of the showroom, of your warehouse and just operate kind of our own business within your business? Because we didn't have the financial wherewithal at that time to lease a space and do all of the, do all the things that would be required. So fortunately, it was a young kind of entrepreneurial guy, and he was like, yeah, sure, I have a little too much space. You can have 1,000 square feet over there, take it. So then we looked around and saw that he was using these Baradan embroidery machines, just like Googled Baradan, found a local sales rep, called them, bought a $70,000 embroidery machine. That was a big, like, oh shit type moment. had it delivered, put it in place, hired a couple of people, and started running our own embroidery operation in the corner of a warehouse. And we were able to benefit by learning from all the operations that they had around us, and kind of take what we liked and modify and put it in there. Stopped having the products delivered first to our apartments and then to this little office we had in Manhattan, started having everything delivered there, and then year over year we'd take more and more of his warehouse space, until a certain point he was like, I kind of need that space back. And at that point we did have the wherewithal to come and get this building and really kind of have a home as a brand.
And you moved in here 2 years ago?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Alex, what's your favorite product?
Speaking of playing the hits, I was thinking, as soon as you asked that question, it's the Maxwell shirt, which is our piqué feed stripe performance polo. It's still my go-to, especially when it's hot.
And what's the best-selling product? Might not be might not be your favorite, right?
Right now, believe it or not, it's our Harwood short, which is our performance short. It's just taking the market by storm. I don't know what to say. It's a really good short.
Well, that's interesting segue into, you guys start with the polo, then you go into outerwear. How do you decide what product categories to go? So you went into pants and shorts, which is, from a sizing standpoint, probably a nightmare. Why did you decide to go that way versus, like you mentioned earlier, rain gear?
Right. We were just tired of playing golf without any pants on. Just a shirt just flowing in the breeze. And we were getting some pretty strongly worded letters from the clubs we were visiting. No, it was kind of a desire to make the thing that we were still buying from another brand. That whole thing of like, hey, and I think with pants there was an element of, we had a few more PGA Tour players on the roster, and they have to wear pants, and a lot of PGA professionals have to wear pants, and so it was like, well, this is kind of silly. We can't really have whether it's the pro in the shop who were wanting to dress head to toe, or a professional on tour, we kind of had to make pants.
And that's just a challenging thing from a SKU perspective, from a fit and ordering perspective, and then also just because it's less embroidery, it's more like, is that almost getting you back to your DTC?
Well, golf shops sell fewer pants and shorts. So
you just had to rip that
our main
off.
Distribution is not going to sell a lot of these things. So and it is a really good product online, because a lot of guys are not going into a pro shop and saying, oh, I got to get these shorts.
Well, guys like to try things on.
That too.
So they don't want to go in and work the fitting room. I mean, that's maybe me speaking personally.
No, you're right.
But it kind of calls to mind a lot of the ways that we've evolved as a business, or at least for me on the merch side in the early days. It used to just be, you just keep going until you have a problem. So like for us, it'd be like returns and exchanges. Well, first it was me shipping everything out of the bedroom. We got to get a fulfillment partner. Okay.
Right.
Then it's like returns and exchanges. It's like, man, that's taking up a lot of my time. I should probably look into, like, maybe Shopify has, like, in their app store, like, and it's the same for you. It's like, what you're thinking, like, you know what, we're sponsoring these guys. We should probably get them some pants. Like, it's like this headache that you kind of ignored for a year or two, that you're like, well, that seems like a good place to put our time.
And you guys have been the guys that, like, we've reached out for a lot more. Hey, what are you guys doing to solve this problem? You've probably seen it before.
But I think that's true of a lot of entrepreneurial endeavors. Like, there's 100 problems that come at you every day.
That's the secret.
And you're just deciding which one bubbles up to the
prioritization,
top.
Clarity, and like organization. Like, what's something that you've made that you look back on and you're like, you know what, that was the wrong decision. That wasn't in our DNA, or you're glad that you didn't make that. You were close to doing something and you're glad you didn't.
Good question. I mean, we've never made women's apparel. I think it's something we've avoided, so it's not quite answering your question, but we get it a lot from the customer. And we've never ruled it out entirely, but it's not on the roadmap for us because we don't really have a point of view for women. We'd have to hire a talented
horror
designer.
Stories out there.
I don't know. It's just
brands.
not what we set out to do when we put the brand together. We have a really strong point of view for guys and how we want things to fit and what colors work and all of that. So we're going to stick with what we know. And that's mostly guided the assortment that we have on the men's side, So I don't want to sound overly confident or anything, but we haven't made huge mistakes.
No regrets.
I would say there have been a few things that were pretty good in the development of the style, but maybe not quite ready to come out of the oven, and we put them in the line and learned from that. It's tough when you're close on a style, but it's not quite there, and then the customer tells you what's wrong with it. And if you kind of knew it wasn't ready, then you regret putting it in before it's ready, because the customer isn't going to give you many opportunities to get it, the way they want it. So,
how have your roles, like you've kind of flip-flopped as far as, you're on the more creative
Prior career.
side,
Career.
and you've like how have your roles, did you guys set out to be in the roles that you've developed into, or is that just by total happenstance and preferences?
No, it was conscious. I say all the time, like I didn't set out to build a warehouse, but we are both involved in each other's areas. Like I would say I still get to scratch the creative itch as much as I want to. I just also know when the business is best served by more of a singular opinion. Like somebody has to be able to say, this is what we're doing in any domain of the business, or it can turn into a debate that slows you down. So just speed is really important. Speed to decision making is really important. And having, everybody kind of fully bought in on the decision that's been made is important. And I think sometimes debate is good in service of that, but other times it's best if you're just letting one or the other person kind of run the show in that domain. And so learning that over time has not been difficult. It's just been I think we're very lucky that we work well together, and it's felt very natural the whole time. Alex has an incredible point of view on color, and a willingness to kind of like say, I think it's this. And so seeing that, it was pretty easy for me to be like, yeah, all right, keep going. Like it's working, keep going. Ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think I probably have a natural inclination towards like the operational, like how do I eliminate hurdles? How do I create good processes? How do I
figure out freight forwarding?
How to get more efficient.
I like that
CRM.
by my nature. I remember watching like Mr. Rogers and some Coke bottling plant and just thinking it was so cool to see how like the world is created in the operational way. So
anything you vetoed, like has he ever vetoed like, dude, we're not doing that piece, we're not doing that color, we're not
oh yeah, there was a
every
piece.
now and then, yeah. I mean, you're probably thinking about the cardigan.
Yeah,
There's a full button-down cotton
That's
blend
great.
cardigan.
It's great. We
that-
sold like 25 to you.
Maybe we'll have to bring that back. We'll dust it off.
Yeah.
But
He wasn't wrong. He was just early.
that's right. Yeah.
It was like a sweatshirt shawl cardigan. Shawl collar cardigan with buttons, like a very cool kind of piece, but probably not right for golf. And the challenge is we don't want to just be so stodgy, and so you have to have some ideas, like Alex's, there's cutting room floor is piled with things that anyone from the team has thought are cool and worth developing that we realize like maybe aren't worth putting into the market either now or ever. But you have to be willing to, throw some ideas out that are a little bit wild.
Yeah. What would you say if you had advice for people working with a partner? Like your advice on partnership? Because it feels like it's been
Well, you guys have a matrix, I think
Yeah.
we're very lucky to just
communication.
kind of have a
Yeah.
Well, that would be my advice.
A line.
Is just, you can't there's no such thing as over communication. But I'm curious, like
Yeah.
for 10 years for you guys, like what have you learned about being a good partner, or what it means to like basically co-run a business?
Sure. I think 3 words come to mind for me. One is communication, just being really good at talking and working through issues, disagreements. Second would be alignment. So when you're communicating, you're always trying to kind of figure out whether what you have in your head for the path or the decision aligns with how your partner sees it, so that you can strengthen the vision for where you're going and find out where there might be disagreements and then compromise where you have to. And then third is just trust, just having a deep foundational basis of the partnership being that you know that the other person is thinking about what's best for the business just like you are, and you can bring that energy into any debate and not take it personally if there are disagreements or if you get overruled or something gets vetoed, right? So, yeah.
I couldn't improve on that answer. I think only thing I'd say is you have to be willing to kind of like let somebody have something, let things go, and just like understand that there's no one right way. There's probably a lot of right ways. And if you have good communication, you've heard each other. If you have good alignment, you know that ultimately your vision for the end goal is the same. There are 10 different ways to get there, but you know where you're going and that you're 100% aligned on that. And you have the trust in that person's competence, judgment to help you, the business, get to that like end goal. And you've communicated along the way. Like sometimes the best thing to do is to just kind of say, all right, cool. Even if it's the opposite of what you want, just be like, all right, cool, let's do that.
Pick your battle, basically.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
And then you guys are probably just thinking about, as we kind of try to land the plane here, you guys have probably hired more people than 99% of company, like personally hire people. What do you look at when you're hiring somebody?
Their haircut? No. It's the, so we try in the interviewing process to the greatest extent possible. It's not possible in every role, but to do some sort of assessment that they can do the actual job. So that's one thing. Sometimes the resume tells you that.
You gotta clear this bar.
Yeah, like if it's Excel oriented, give them an Excel task. Can you do the actual thing? Because
but assuming that
first thing, right? But you have to get over that hurdle, right? That you have to have.
You'd be
trust
surprised how many people just assume.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to like trust that they can do the actual job. So as long as they have the skills, then you're moving into like fit, cultural fit, when that can be part personality. But I think, we are very explicit about what our company values are in the interview process, and it's 5 things that are ranked, and we're weighting, we're judging people. So hiring against it, and then managing against it. So they are or are not, according to our and their peers' perspective, living up to these 5 things. And it ultimately can inform a decision to terminate or, promote.
Well, what are the 5 things?
What are the 5 things?
I got to ask you.
Number 1 is excellence, which we define as just taking pride in doing a great job every day and being technically proficient at the thing. Number 2 is positivity, keeping a positive attitude and being, upbeat and pleasant. 3 is integrity. It's doing what you said you would do. And integrity, we kind of think of honesty as a component of integrity, but integrity is even broader than that. 4 is collaboration. So we don't like lone wolf type characters. We want people who are eager to be part of a team and want to have that interaction. And like we just talked about with our partnership, we get better decisions and better results through collaborative engagement, where we're not just doing what we think is right, we're sounding it out and often compromising and coming up with the best answer based on that. And then the 5th is character. Just, are you a good person? Are you nice? Are you kind? Are you helpful? Are you gonna take the high road when you get tested? So that's a pretty quick cliff notes on it.
That's great.
So trying to suss out through some questions in an interview, once you've established the skill bases there, whether they align with those values and are going to, because of that, perform well in the company for the long term. Because hiring takes a long time. It's a total pain in the butt, and you don't always get it right. We haven't gotten it right 100% of the time. My wife said something like, Starbucks isn't good at hiring, they're good at firing. So meaning weeding people out. And I think that's a fine strategy if you're a high churn organization. I'd rather be good at hiring, because both hiring and firing are very painful. So we'd like to get it right. And so we'd like to identify the people that we think are going to be with us for a long time, and the people that are going to be with us for a long time and excel here are going to align with those values, or they will not. The other thing I would say is, and it's probably the same for you, the people who come to us, there's a natural filter by virtue of who we are. We're a small, fast-growing, entrepreneurial kind of niche in the golf men's apparel space company based in Armonk, New York. So we're going to attract
Somewhat
a certain,
self-selected.
we're going to attract a certain type of candidate is interested in being a part of that, joining that party.
Or
So
you're
I
going to
think-
have to cast a wider net for a very specific skill set to
Exactly
plug a
right.
hole, right?
Exactly right. And maybe some of the mistakes we've made on hiring have been compromising our values for a skill set that's hard to find.
Yeah.
Those are some of the things we've had to undo. And one of the things that's nice about getting bigger is that you start to be able to attract enough interest. When we were two dudes sitting in an office, I have no idea why anyone would have come to work for us, other than that they thought they saw something, just like why did Grant Sturgeon say yes and put 48 pieces together? It's like they saw something. There's an energy to that early primordial muck of starting the company that attracts the right kind of person. And so, that's why then. But as you get bigger, you do tend to attract a slightly larger pool. And then you get to, even within a fairly niche skill set, start to be able to get both, the skill set and the cultural
You're
fit.
looking at our first employee.
There you go.
Yeah.
Still rocking.
All right, last question. I'm going to ask one that we get a lot, but and I have my sarcastic answer to it. The 5-year plan. What do you see? Like, people ask us that all the time. What do you see for NLU in the next 5 years? And I'm going to ask you that question because I feel like a lot of people are probably wondering that. You're a small, growing, not even small. I wouldn't even say small anymore. But like, what's the what do you think about? Where do you want to be in 5 years?
And you've taken it from such like the opposite of. There's all these DTC that are now trying to get more into wholesale. I feel like you guys have done the hard part.
Well, wholesale's great, by the
and
way.
now
I mean, not to go back there too far, but the money you pay in DTC, in marketing, returns, all the things, the free shipping, the discounts, all that stuff. I don't think of the wholesale discount we're giving our wholesalers as anything other than payment for service. They have to own and operate a shop with staffs. They have to merchandise and sell the product. They have to service that customer over time. Like, our wholesale partners are incredible what they do to make us look good and help us.
It's like they're an
promote.
extension.
The wholesale
of who you
margin
are.
we're giving them in exchange for that, that's a wonderful deal. Hopefully for both. It's incredible symbiosis.
It's a really good way to think about it.
Like,
There's a reason it's been that way for 200 years. That there's been a store owner and a manufacturer.
Right.
It's like the
And
internet kind of
especially
got in the
golf,
way.
it serves a purpose, right?
Yeah.
There's a pro shop, and you're in there for whatever reason. But if you pick up a polo along the way, even better.
Well, but you hear about clothing companies get rolled up a lot, holding companies. Like, where do you guys?
I think that's so silly. In that, the theory of a sales force synergy. It's like, we got this incredible sales force with this great distribution. They're already going out into these great golf shops. Let's buy or develop a suntan lotion brand or a sunglasses brand, and we'll throw it all in the back of this same guy's van and have him go. I just don't think that works. I think our formula has been, will be, stay as focused and narrow as possible in terms of the things we make, who we think of as our customer, what they use us for, in-house. Because it lets you be focused and narrow in terms of the activities internally you decide to do, which hopefully gives you a fighting chance of being best in class at that narrow set of, whether it's the products we make, the embroidery, et cetera, just things want to spin out of control, and it takes discipline and effort to keep them tight. And we're going to spend a lot of our discipline and effort to keep things as tight as we can while achieving our goals. And our goals are not to be the next Ralph Lauren or J. Crew or fill in the blank. Our goals are to be the best golf apparel brand in the world. And that doesn't have anything to do with size. It doesn't have to do with anything other than the quality of what we do. Do we have growth goals? Yeah, of course. But the next 5 years, I feel like we could look a lot like we look now.
That's what we always say.
God, you sound like me.
And if we're
Mine
just
is
getting
like,
4
my
to
answers don't
6%
fucking
better
up.
every year, like you said.
That's my
compounding.
sarcastic
Don't
answer.
stop
If we
my
sit here in
What do you
5
wanna
years
do
and
in
you
5
say
years?
we did it, over that period of time, just like we have done up until now, we'll be very happy.
I think it's also like going back to the inside, like having your own sales guys and you own that relationship and everything is focused upon that product. You guys are also leveraging the hell out of all the feedback that they're getting, all of that is directed at one thing and directed back at you, and then like that's
Every other week there's a call where every salesperson gives 5 to 15 minutes of market feedback to Alex, me, other key people in the company who are hearing real time what the market is telling them about the products that are selling, sitting on shelves that they've just seen to pre-book, and the entire competitive landscape. And that pipeline is so direct back to the decision makers. And I think that's a huge benefit. And I think the further away the brain gets from the hands, or whatever you want to call it, like the greater the vascular network, the more likely there is for some sort of cardiac arrest. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Weirdly, I also think COVID kind of catalyzed this for me, but even seeing it in this like current fucked up tariff environment and uncertainty and all of that, you guys are so much better equipped to deal with that because you're just open-minded and figuring out as you go along, and you're willing to adjust your process or do the right stuff in service of your product instead of
or take a margin hit if that's
exactly
what feels like it makes
sense.
sense.
I mean, you guys were air freighting all sorts of stuff because it was, hey, we need to have stuff in stock and we need to be, customer first, whether that customer is DTC or the Winged Foot Pro shop, right? And I think whereas so many other companies aren't willing to be flexible and nimble and open-minded like that.
People forget margin is there. It's almost like insurance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly.
Like I think of our merch as like marketing that we make money on. And when I say it almost puts me at ease when I'm like, when we start to talk to Casey about like our margins, at the end of the day, I'm like, well, are we
making good stuff?
Are we making good stuff? Are we losing money? No? Okay, cool. Then just
right.
like
Customer's happy. He's
yeah.
On
like
the
that's
airplane.
You have to have like a thesis on like why are you doing this? And I feel like companies get so addicted to like margin percentage, where it's like, well, do you have margin? Like margin's there so that like if something bad happens, you can shrink it.
I love that margin is an insurance policy.
Yeah, it should be.
It's a buffer.
Nobody thinks about it that way though.
Yeah. Well, I think the bigger the company gets and the broader the ownership gets, the more you have to start running it by a spreadsheet versus by a judgment of what is most faithful to your first principles of customer happiness and satisfaction. It's doing what you say you will do. It's being a reliable partner to the wholesaler, to the end consumer, whatever it is. Those decisions are a lot easier to make when you don't have a corporate overlord or a short-term, shareholder, whatever.
That said, I'm not wishing for more tariffs or uncertainty.
Nobody needs
no.
I mean, between port stuff and just labor and materials and all of that, like you guys are probably a pretty good canary in the coal mine for like the global supply chain and state of business.
I love that you brought that out. Like my brief stint in private equity, and one of the things I didn't like was being a step or two removed from like the way the real economy works. And
because you're also dealing with a bunch of small businesses in these pro shops, right?
Small businesses on the customer side, small businesses on the manufacturer supplier side. I like where we've landed in because it helps me, like the world is big and complicated and all over the place, and we just have this like tiny little corner, and we can kind of get our arms around the things that we do in a pretty complete way, and by virtue of that feel like we have some understanding of how the world works in this way, and not have to worry about the bigger complications as much.
And just hone our craft.
Yeah.
Like that's what we do every day here, is just like you were saying, it's just one foot in front of the other. How can we get better? Where are we going next? But is this right for the brand? And that's, like you said, sort of simple in its way. Like we're not going to let this business turn into something other than what we set out to do.
Yeah. Well, congrats, guys. Seriously.
Likewise.
Good stuff. And it's cool to see the HQ. I mean, this gets my Jesus going, we're a distributed workforce.
Right.
But my dream is to have, like the detached barn, clubhouse, office. And
Where would you
guys kind of have that on a corporate level here. I mean,
where would you do it? Where would you put this?
The barn?
Yeah, the barn.
Hopefully this house in New Jersey
Yeah.
that I'm that's a few years down the road. I need to get the house first, but
even just see, I don't know, like like this is weird to say, like I feel like I've known you guys for 10 years now. I'm proud of you guys. As like,
Thank you.
I'm proud to be a customer of you guys.
Yeah.
I'm proud to be a
Same.
partner of
yeah,
you guys.
the feeling's mutual, man. Like
And it's like it's truly felt like a partnership the entire time, and I've learned so much from you guys about the way that you run your business that we've applied to our business. And I think also just like I'm a kid in a candy store down there watching and just seeing, like, you guys have most businesses, hey, we want to keep headcount down, we want to do as much subcontracting as possible. You guys have taken the opposite tack of like, hey, like we want everybody bought in, we want people on site here, we want as many people that we can get on the payroll as possible. And like that is such a rare thing in America these days, and I like that's like there's something like fucking patriotic about Holderness Bourne that I really like. So
yeah,
it's cool.
there's a lot of value. I talk about this a lot with our business of like zigging while others are zagging. Like when we're talking about like what content are we going to focus on for the year, and it's just so easy to get sucked into like, well, everybody's doing this, and it's like that's exactly what we shouldn't be doing. Like let's do it, because we're talking about on the floor. Like there's a lot of people get paralyzed when there's no right answer. It's like, well, you can do it this way or you can do it that way. You just gotta like pick one. And some people just get stuck in the middle. It's like, well, no one's gonna tell you which one to do. You just gotta
pick
start.
it, and then you gotta live with it.
Yeah.
And figure
So
it out.
Pick it and go. And I think the narrower the more you can narrow your focus, the deeper you can go. So same thing on content, right? Like I'm sure there are ancillary things that you could do, but that would distract you from the core.
100%.
Same thing with like how can we have a dedicated sales team and invest in bringing more things into the business instead of trying to outsource? It's because we are pretty narrow with what we do. So we can do those things ourselves instead of trying to do a broader set of things and need to contract out.
It's the same thing. Like we are a golf podcast, and we're for core golfers and golf enthusiasts. You don't have to be a scratch. You just got to be really into golf, and we're not going to try to be all things to all people. And if we do the podcast well, that means we can go do fun video stuff along the way. Right. Or
I could describe
cool
our
writing
company
and all
subbing
that.
like 4 words for what you just said.
Yeah.
Well, I got the
aligned
Post-it note
philosophically.
quotes on my computer screen, and one of them is, just because you can doesn't mean you should. That's been a big one for me like the last 6 months, because it's constantly like, when things are going well, it's a lot of, well, we can do that, we could do this. Like, doesn't mean we should do that right now.
Yeah, a
Doesn't
lot
mean
of
we
success
won't.
is knowing what to say no to.
Oh my God.
Do less better.
I would say that's probably a larger piece of the pie than what you do, than what you're doing.
Yes.
And what you're not doing.
Yeah.
And the problem
Avoiding
is that you don't see the counterfactual, right? You don't see the version of yourself when you did the 10 things that you said no to and how much worse off you would be. So it takes a lot of confidence and conviction in that mentality. I think that's a big problem in decision making generally, is that we don't get to see the things that didn't happen.
The consequences of that, doing too much.
And sometimes you do get to see it through
Somebody
strange
else's
twists and turns, or holy shit, remember when
Definitely.
we said no to that project and like it turned into this dumpster fire? Man, like that's a pretty cool.
Yeah, that feels so good. You're like, man, I call those landmines. I'm like, don't step down that. It's bad. The more, and every year that goes by, we get better at seeing those. Totally. I feel like Ben's picking up on that. You're seeing like, that's bad news over there. All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. Of course, shout out to Mr. Jeezy, and shout out to Armonk. Good to be up here.
Fine
north of the
people of
city.
Armonk.
This is beautiful country up here.
The town of Armonk sits within the township of North Castle. Okay. And so
it's like a Russian nesting doll.
It's a bit of that, yeah. So when we drive out, you'll see this big regal, like eagle, like kind of very patriotic, kind of billboard looking thing. I think it's like wrought iron. It says Town of North Castle. And we thought long and hard about trying to use North Castle, just has a certain ring to it. But ultimately, we're in Armonk.
Okay.
So shout out Armonk.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, you should do some embroidered stuff with that.
We've
eagle
played
for
with
the-
it.
Okay.
Bring the eagle in to
Yeah.
like
For the city council.
HQ members only logo.
Yeah,
Like you only
definitely.
get it if you visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now you visited. Guys,
Working
thanks.
on
This
it.
is
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you guys.